Okay, we're starting Be'ez Hashem Siman Mem Ches Vayoel Moshe, and we're talking about the Rambam gave the Siman of Mashiach, being that he'll make everybody do tshuva, and Rabbi is explaining that you're supposed to rely on things like this, the reliable Simanim of Geula, and not just miracles that are done by a false Navi, because a miracle could mean nothing. So take a look. He starts out with the Geula from Mitzrayim, and he says by Mitzrayim, the Siman of Geula was that the Goyal, the Redeemer, would come and say the special words, Pakoi Pakadti. And when he came and said those words, then they believed him. And all the other things that he did, all the tricks and miracles, the snake and the stick and everything that he did, that they didn't rely upon. Uva Pirkei Rabbi Lezer, Perk Mem Ches. It says in Pirkei Rabbi Lezer that this secret that the Redeemer would say the words Pakoi Pakati was given over to Serach Bas Asher.
Why?
I guess maybe because she was going to live a long time, and they knew she would live to the point of the Geula from Mitzrayim. You know, she was one.
Yeah.
So they gave over to her this secret, and they said anybody who pretends to be Redeemer, let's go check with her, make sure that it's the right one. So he came to the Ziknei Yisrael, Moshe and Aaron, and they said, okay, we're the Redeemers. The Asu Isis name. They did the tricks. They made the snake, and they made the hand become Saras, not Saras. So Hachu Yisrael Eitzel Serach Bas Asher. They went to Serach Bas Asher and they asked her, a man came and did these miracles. Kach v'kach. So Amr Lahem, Ein be'oisis halalu mamish. She said, no, we don't believe in miracles.
Well,
Amrullah, they said to her, V'haloi Amar Pakoi Pakadati. He said the magic words, Pakoi Pakadati. So Amr Lahem, Hu Hoish Sha'astiv Ligo Mitzrayim. He's the one who's going to redeem us. Shekach Shamati Me'aba. This is what I heard from my father, that whoever says these words is Pakoi Pakadati. No, the Serach Bas Asher said, I heard this from my father.
Yeah.
Serach Bas Asher was talking about her father Asher, and she said, I heard from him this.
Why did Asher? So Asher knew because she was going to live there. Asher knew all other Shvatim?
Presumably all the Shvatim knew.
I see.
It's just that Asher was delegated as the one to give it over to his daughter, because his daughter was going to live a long time.
I see.
Anyway, V'huva Zeh B'Ktsar. This whole Pirkei Rabbi Lezer is brought down in short and briefly. B'Toisvis Masechta Soita Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. Toises brings it down. That the reason why they had to ask Serach Bas Asher to make sure is because they knew they already made a mistake a few years earlier when the Bnei Ephraim wanted to go out of Mitzrayim. Right? They went out 30 years early. That's why they had to go and check with her, before they believed Moshe and Aaron.
Yeah.
We see from this Sha'af Moshe v'Aaron Sha'ashchina shoyer al pneim. Even Moshe and Aaron, with all their holiness, with the Shechina on their faces, v'yasu kol ha'oisis le'aneim, they did these amazing miracles. Im kol zeh amro Serach she'ein bohem mamish. Even so, Serach Bas Asher said it doesn't help. Ad sheshama hasimin ha'makublu me'avos, until she heard those words that she was makabel from her fathers. V'haloi. We're not talking about a Zionist movement here. We're not talking about the Moshe supposed to do to make a war neged Mitzrayim, or to do any other action. They just came to say that we're messengers of Hashem. That He's going to bring the 10 plagues. And after that, Hashem Himself is going to make sure that the Yidden get out of Mitzrayim. So they're not going to do any force. They're not going to attack Paroi with an army.
And they did it.
What?
They did it.
What?
They did not attack Paroi with any army or rebellion.
And still, they needed to have these words Pakoi Pakadi. Otherwise, they can't believe them. So he says, there's no bigger raya to them if they follow through with it and they start doing dam and svardeya and kinim and everybody sees that it's true. What kind of stuff could you have about them? Even so, Serach Bas Asher said, no, don't believe them, because she was so afraid of this terrible thing of going out before the gates. So we have no other way to trust the Redeemer, even if he does amazing things, except by following the Kabbalahs that we have from the previous generation.
Sarah received no Masorah that he would make miracles. Even Avram, when Hashem said do a day, that he didn't say, I'll take them out with big miracles. So we find that there was no Masorah, so there would be big miracles. That's what we find.
Right. So he says, in the Geula Hasidah we also have a siman that was makubal to us, how it's going to come. What is it? Tshuva, he's going to say. He says, Chazal say in the Medrash Tanchuma that it's not going to be a human being who comes and does something. Take a look. Tanchuma Parshas Achrei Al Akasav Yisrael Noisha B'Hashem Shevuos Olamim. So the Medrash darshans on this. That when the Jewish people is redeemed by Hashem, then it's a Shevuos Olamim. Then it's a permanent geula, because the past geulas that were done by human beings. In the future, when B'is Mashiach, it won't be a human being doing the geula; it will be Hashem. He himself will redeem them. Therefore, it'll be permanent. Those who were redeemed by Hashem will return. And the pasuk ends off in Yeshaya, I Hashem will hasten it in its time. I and no one else. So the same Medrash Tanchuma darshans from this, that the geula won't take place through a human being like it did in the past, like Moshe and Aaron, or like Ezra, or like the Chashmonaim. I don't have to go and bring all the psukim about this, because there are a lot of them and a lot of statements of Chazal that say explicitly that the galus that we're in now was created by Hashem, and the geula from it is from Hashem. The Medrash in Shiur says, don't push for it too early, because when the time comes, I will bring it with koilis, with lots of fanfare. So nobody could think that we could make a Zionist movement to make the geula on our own unless he's a koifer in the Torah and the Emunah. Because look at all these psukim, look at all these midrashim.
But the Zionists argue that's from Hashem. What kind of miraculous it was? So they came from Hashem. So the Zionists argue.
Yeah, okay, but it's saying that it won't be through a Basar Adam.
Of course, you know what? Rishonim are the biggest Basar Adam, because they have no Havdalah ever from Basar Adam. So please.
Anyway, so the Lord, Be'azman Sasim B'chasum Ve'eni Tani Yodei Adma. We don't know when this Zman is going to be. We don't know when this geula is coming. Aval Divrei Chachamenu Zal Brurim Sha'achshav Ein Adav Tali Ela B'Tshuva. There's one thing that the Chazal do say is the siman of geula, and that's tshuva, because it says that you're not going to do tshuva before the geula. So that's the only siman we can really hold on to. So that's why the Rambam brought it down. When he spoke about Mashiach, he brought that down. He says, Gam Ro'ah HaRambam Zal Mevur Mefurish B'Kra Kanis Kol Ha'el. The Rambam had a pasuk in Parshas Nitzavim. It says that V'shavta Hashem Elokecha V'shamata B'Koilei. You'll do tshuva, and then afterwards V'shav Hashem Elokecha Shvuscha. Hashem will return the exiles. So that's a mefarish pasuk. So even in Siman Mem Aleph explained that even Rabbi Yeshua, who says that it's possible to have a geula without tshuva, he just means Mashiach could come without tshuva, but the actual process of returning to Eretz Yisrael could only happen after tshuva. Right?
And we do believe Mashiach will make all kinds of tshuva, as the Rambam says.
Right. So v'lachein b'sefer hayad shadak. So now he's going back to the steer that he asked before. The steer was that in Yad HaChazaka, the Rambam brings only that Mashiach will make everybody do tshuva. That's the identifying criteria of Mashiach. And in Geras Teman, the Rambam talks about Mashiach as being an amazing person who's a great Navi and doing amazing feats. And he flies. So what's going on? What's the steer in the Rambam? So he says that in Sefer Hayad, Shadaklet Liftov Bekitzer Nimratz. The Rambam's way is, in Sefer Hayad, he writes things very bekitzer, and he just says whatever is Nogei LaHalacha. The things that you have to know for halacha. So therefore, Loi Ratza Lahamid Yisoid HaYidiyah B'Melech HaMashiach Al Moifsim. The Rambam didn't want that people should think that Mashiach is dependent on doing Moifsim. Shehu Derech She'efshel Lahavi L'Dei Tu'usim Noiraim Kanal. That believing that Mashiach will do Moifsim could lead to tremendous mistakes. So he didn't want to make that the basis of Mashiach. Just as another example of how people could be fooled by a false geula, he brings an interesting thing. Rabbi Gershom, Masechta Tamid, Daf Lamed Beis Amud Aleph, she'amar leit sitna natzach, that the Chachamim said to Alexander that the Satan has prevailed. It's a Chassav Sham b'Pirush Rabbi Gershom Zal. Rabbi Gershom explains it. Al tisma al zeh she'asatan hu noitzeach. Don't be amazed that the Satan can sometimes win. Shemase oisam, that he fools them. V'noisin lahem geula, he gives them a geula. V'losoif yiridim legehenim. In the end, he puts them into Gehenna.
Where in Talmud is this?
This is a very strange Rebbeinu Gershom. It sounds like it's not negated to anything in Talmud. It sounds like it's written for today, right? So, take a look. I copied off the page.
Even Alexander did experience miracles, not for his own good. It's not that he came to a place in the world, was able to see the shape of the world.
Okay.
But it wasn't for his good. It was to drive him out of this world.
Take a look at the Gemara Talmud Daf Not Lamed Beis. Amud Aleph. Gemara says that Alexander asked the Chacham a lot of questions, and eventually he asked them this question: Amar lahen ma dein israstun lekivli? Why are you resisting me? In other words, we're the Romans, we're in power.
No,
not the Romans. Sorry,
Macedonian.
Macedonians, right? We're the Macedonians. We're in power, and you're just a tiny nation. So why are you resisting my religion? Why you keep Judaism? So Amrulay, they said back to him, Sitna Natzach. The Satan is prevailing. So Rebbeinu Gershom, just before you look at Rebbeinu Gershom, look at the Mefarish on the side. Instead of Rashi, you have a Mefarish. We don't know who he is, but he says in the left column, about 10 lines down.
Yeah.
Left side of the page, not where Rashi usually is, really on the outside of the page.
Yeah.
He says, Amar lahen ma denis rastun lekivli ma zeh she'atem oimdim negdi ve'einchem machzikim yirasenu. Why don't you follow our religion? Haloi atem yoidim ki anachnu arabim. Don't you know we're the majority? Ve'atem tachtenu, you're under us. So Yisrastun lashon tri simagin. Yisrastun comes from the word shield. It means why are you resisting with a shield against us? So Amrulay, they said to him, Sitna Natzach, Zu ein araya, Shahari atem royim b'chol yoim shasatan hu notzeach. It's not a proof. The fact that you're ruling over us is not a proof, because you see every day that the Satan is victorious. What does that mean? The Satan, tries to convince people to do aveiros. And he confuses people, right? So afatem al tismu al sha'anu tachtechem. This is also part of the Satan's plan, that we're under you, and it makes it look like you're more powerful, and we should want to accept your religion. And Rebbeinu Gershom, I think he's saying this. The reason I read that is because I want to show you. I think he's saying the same thing in different words.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to understand the Rebbeinu Gershom, but the Mefarish makes it more clear. He says, "Amulei sitna datzach komer al tisma al zeh." Don't be amazed. Satan hu noitzeach. The Satan is victorious. Shemasa oisam. He confuses people. V'noisin lahem geula. The only difference is the Rebbeinu Gershom added in the word geula. Noisin lahem geula gives the Macedonians a redemption, meaning like he makes them powerful.
Yeah.
Makes them conquer the world. If you read them to Gehenna, but in the end, he's going to bring them to Gehenna. It's just a trick. It's just like one of the Satan's tricks. That if someone wants to be a Rasha, he'll give them success.
Yeah.
Okay. So therefore, a false Navi doing Moifsim is also not a proof. The Satan could actually go to the point that he brings a false geula to make it look like he's right. Therefore, back to the Rambam. Therefore the Rambam in Hilchos Malachim, Hemi the Rambam Zal Yisoid Rishon She Hoiga B'Torah. The Rambam says, what's Mashiach going to be? He's going to be someone who learns Torah, the Oisik b'mitzvahs, David Aviv, like David, Kefi Torah Shebichsav, the Torah Shebapeh, V'Yachuv Kol Yisrael Leilech Ba. And he's compelling all the Jews to follow it, U'lechazik Bidkon, to strengthen its weak points. That's the Rambam's siman for Gula, nothing else. That's a sure path. Even though the Rambam does mention in Yad that the Mashiach will be an amazing person, he mentions it in Hilchos Tshuva we saw, right? He says that he'll be a great Navi and everything. He'll be almost like on Moshe's level of Nevuah. And he says other amazing things about Mashiach. I mean, back in the Vayoel Moshe now. He says that in other words, he'll convince the nations of the world to listen to him. Hilchos Tshuva, but the main foundation of identifying Mashiach, he makes that dependent on all of the Jewish people fulfilling the whole Torah. So, if only we could live to see this soon. That's the real siman of Geula, nothing else. After the Rambam writes that the Geula is not dependent on miracles, right? In the previous halach in Hilchos Malachim, Perek Yud Aleph Halacha Gimel, the Rambam says that Mashiach doesn't have to do any moifsim to qualify, and we see Ben Kuziva didn't do any moifsim, and the Rambam adds on the following words that we didn't really understand before. The words were that V'ikra Dvarim Kacha Hein. That the main thing is that the Torah is forever, and Ein Moisifin Aleim Ve'ein Gorim Mehem. We're not allowed to add or subtract from the Torah. Now, what does that have to do with Mashiach not doing moifsim? So the answer is because if we're going to think that Mashiach is dependent on moifsim, actually is patos. We could get led astray.
Sorry, I lost a place over here.
I'm over this side, left column, almost to the end of the siman. That if we're going to believe, let's say a false Mashiach comes and he does some amazing acts, then we're going to start following him. And then let's say later on he decides, okay, now we're allowed to eat chaylev, right?
Yeah.
Now we're allowed to say the Shem Hashem, right? If he's going to start saying something against the Torah, we're going to accept that too, because we're following him not because of the Torah, we're following him because of the moifsim he did.
And the religious eyes now see there's now a permanent reason Michal Shav with a 24/7 army.
So v'zeh shekol Yisrael yasu tshuva. So that's therefore the Rambam says, because we don't believe in moifsim for Mashiach, we don't rely on that, that's why the Torah can't be subtracted or added to. Okay?
Of course, because all these signs and miracles do not demand true conversion at all. They're out the Rabbi. Say it's not needed.
You read that Mati Gorani, you know that the army general who went up to the Harbais, he wanted to blow up the temple, the two mosques. He should instruct his soldiers to
Gordon?
be what?
I don't know.
Yeah, you know Gordon.
Gordon.
He should instruct his soldiers to be Machal Shabbos, to drive jeeps on Shabbos. Dafka. He said this is more important.
So, v'zeh shekol Yisrael yasu tshuva. This that the whole Jewish people will do tshuva, v'yachzru l'kiyum kol haTorah kula, that they'll go and fulfill the whole Torah terem ha'gula, before the gula comes. Hu mevur b'Torah ha'kdosha v'yesh yishtana. That's a Perish Pasuk in Parashas Nitzavim, and that can't be changed. Therefore, that's the main yisoid of B'yas HaMashiach.